time by Carrie Chris is 6 p.m. Time for CBX Business News. The business news headlines is brought to you by CBX Wealth Management, making more possible. Jamaica's GDP climbs, Bermuda booms, and UK's inflation spikes. Hello and welcome to CBX Business News for Wednesday, August 20, 2025. I'm Yanil Wood. Thanks for joining us. Coming up in the newscast locally, Jamaica's GDP records a modest increase for the first 6 months of 2025. On the regional front, Bermuda's economy expands by over 1% in the first quarter of 2025, fueled by strong consumer spending and investment. And over on the global stage, UK's inflation jumps to 3.8%, hitting an 18-month high as travel and food costs soar. Stay tuned as we unpack these stories and more right after this break.
Wealth is not simply counted in dollars or cents, but in the time we spend with love, in love, giving love. Wealth is not simply a means to an end. It is the means to live out loud. Wealth is more than money. It's about family, the memories you create, the legacy you leave behind, and your ability to enjoy life in the moment. It's also about seeing the CBX possibilities and seizing investment opportunities to achieve the future you want and deserve. Which is why CBX Wealth will focus on your investments so you can experience more. Because true wealth is truly more. To start investing today, call 876-926-7767.
Let's all get fit. This summer set drip. Hip dips and split. Forward in the mind, let's get healthy with it. Sometimes your body's so hard, but your body wants it. And then your head is so home, and it's so like this. So we gotta go 1, 2, 3. One more now. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. One more now. 1, 2, 3. One more now. 1, 2, 3, go!
The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments. Welcome back to CBX Business News. Jamaica's gross domestic product GDP recorded a slight increase in the first half of 2025, driven by growth in both the goods producing and services industries. The update was provided on Tuesday by Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica PIOJ, Dr. Wayne Henry, during the Institute's media briefing reviewing the country's economic performance.
For the first 6 months of 2025, real GDP is estimated to have grown by 1.2%. The goods producing industry grew by 2.9%, while the services industry grew by 0.7%.
According to Dr. Henry, agriculture, information, and accommodations were among the top performing industries from January to June.
The industries which were estimated to have recorded the largest increases during the first half of the year were agriculture, forestry, and fishing, up 6.4%, information and communication, up 3.6%, accommodation and food service activities, up 1.8%, and manufacturing, up 1.6%.
The PIOJ Director General also noted that Jamaica's short-term economic prospects remain positive.
Short-term prospects for the overall economy are positive, largely associated with a continuation of the recovery momentum as all industries are projected to record growth. This performance will largely be supported by 1. The recovery from the low production base during the corresponding quarter of 2024 when most industries were adversely impacted by Hurricane Beryl. In particular, agriculture production continues to benefit from the post-hurricane support to the industry, which has resulted in record levels of production for several crop groups.
Meanwhile, Dr. Henry revealed that Jamaica's manufacturing industry recorded slight growth in the second quarter of 2025.
Real value added for the manufacturing industry was estimated to have grown by 1.4%. Increased output was estimated for both the other manufacturing and the food, beverages, and tobacco sub-industries. Within the food, beverages, and tobacco sub-industry, higher production was pushed by poultry meat, up 5.4%, and dairy products, up 24.6%.
He added that growth in these sectors offset declines in beverage production, with beer and stout falling 19.8%, while rum and other spirits dropped 4.7%. The PIOJ Director General further highlighted the contributors to increases in other manufacturing subsectors.
For the other manufacturing sub-industry, the estimated increase in output was mainly due to petroleum products, reflecting higher production of turbo fuel, up 118.5%, automotive diesel oil, ADO, up 81.9%, fuel oil, up 54.6%, and asphalt, up 84.7%.
PIOJ's Director General, Dr. Wayne Henry. The National Environment and Planning Agency, or NEPA, is calling for stronger partnerships with businesses and citizens as Jamaica pushes towards a circular economy. Speaking at the opening of a national training workshop on circular economy indicators for the Sustainable Development Goals at NEPA's corporate offices in Kingston recently, Chief Executive Officer and Government Town Planner Leonard Francis says the circular economy model has the potential to deliver significant economic, environmental, and societal benefits. This economy model focuses on reusing, repairing, and recycling to slow down the consumption of natural resources. With a circular economy, the environment is better protected through the minimization of waste and pollution. It means internationally recovering, reusing, recycling, and repurposing materials so that consumption is circular rather than linear, Francis explained. Consequently, Jamaica's limited resources are kept within the economy for a longer period instead of being discarded, and reliance on virgin materials is minimized, he added. The Bank of Jamaica has intervened in the foreign exchange market for the second consecutive day this week. On Wednesday, the central bank injected another US $30 million into the market through its Be-Fix-It flash intervention tool. This sale operation targeted eligible bidders, with settlement scheduled for Thursday, August 21. A total of 44 eligible bids valuing $79.825 million were received, but only 16 of those bids were allocated. And here's a look at how the currency markets traded today following the BOJ's intervention. The intervention positively impacted the Jamaican dollar as it gained against its U.S. counterpart at the end of today's currency trading. At the close, the U.S. dollar is selling for $161.92, the Canadian for $118.01, and the pound for $216.66. $191.01 is the going rate for the euro. At the same time, in its monetary policy press release earlier today, the BOJ says the Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, has unanimously agreed to maintain the policy rate, the rate offered to deposit-taking institutions, DTIs, on overnight placements with BOJ at 5.75% per annum, and preserve relative stability in the foreign exchange market. And we'll tell you more from that in tomorrow's newscast. Now to trading news from the Jamaica Stock Exchange. 108 stocks traded on the JSE Wednesday, of which 41 advanced, 45 declined, and 22 traded firm. JMMB Group 8.50% US dollar. Mayberry Jamaican Equities, Sterling Investments, and Omni Industries led today's winners, while the losers were led by Iron Rock Insurance Company, KLE Group, Jetcon Corporation, and R.A. Williams Distributors. The main index advanced by 150.88 points, or 0.05%, to close at 313,282.98. The junior market index, however, declined by 20.01, or 0.58%, to close at 3,442.43. Now to some company news. The Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, JCC, is advising its members that it is not affiliated with the Products of the Caribbean Expo, scheduled for Miami in April 2026, despite the Chamber's name appearing in promotional materials. In a statement on Tuesday, the JCC said its name was used without knowledge or consent. The Chamber is urging members to exercise caution and not make payments or commitments to the event without proper verification. Members who have already made payments are advised to seek legal guidance. The JCC reaffirmed that it will continue to share only verified opportunities through official channels. And it's time for our Market Education feature, brought to you by CariCris, Regional Ratings, Global Standard. As Jamaica's September 3 election draws closer, in today's Market Education feature, we're looking at the term political party. A political party is a group of people who share similar political beliefs and aim to gain and exercise state power. They do this by running candidates for public office and influencing public policy. Political parties also act as a bridge between citizens and the government, mobilizing support and promoting a particular vision for society. Most countries have multiple parties, though often only two dominate. In Jamaica, the main parties are the People's National Party, PNP, and the Jamaica Labour Party, JLP. The JLP is a center-right party that supports economic liberalism, emphasizing individualism and private ownership. The PNP, on the other hand, is center-left, supporting social democracy, which blends capitalist and socialist principles to promote a welfare-oriented society. The Market Education feature was brought to you by CariCris, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. And that's it for our Market Education feature and the local segment. Please come back with us. The regional business news is up next after this break. The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses. and Pulse Investments.
Introducing the Corporate Services Unit, your go-to experts for corporate secretarial solutions. We offer statutory compliance, efficient minute taking, registered office address services, management of board and members meetings, setup and maintenance of corporate registers. Stay ahead with our proactive approach to new regulations. We operate under the Trust and Corporate Service Provider, licensed to the JCSD Trustee Services Limited. We're here to simplify your corporate journey, no matter the size of your company. Contact the Corporate Service Unit today and let's streamline your compliance journey together, because your success is our business.
Welcome back. We go now to news from across the region. Bermuda's economy continued to strengthen in the first quarter of 2025, with gross domestic product GDP expanding by an estimated 1.1% in real terms and 3.3% in nominal terms. Speaking during a press conference earlier today, Minister of Economy and Labor Jason Hayward says this growth was fueled by rising household and government expenditure.
Bermuda's economy continued its steady progress, building on good momentum and strong growth in 2024. In the first quarter of 2025, Bermuda's economy expanded by an estimated 1.1% adjusted for inflation, signifying continued economic expansion. This economic growth resulted from increased household and government expenditure and investment. In corn prices, GDP increased by 3.3% in the first quarter.
Minister Hayward also noted that growing confidence in the local economy is reflected in the rise of new business registrations for the quarter.
Bermuda's business ecosystem remains robust, and local business registration increased year over year, bringing the complete business register to 4,082. There were 50 new local businesses registered in Bermuda during the first quarter of 2025.
Minister of Economy and Labor Jason Hayward. Kalina Holdings Bahamas Limited, CHBL, has delivered a strong first half performance, with net income surging 132% to $22.7 million, up from $9.8 million in the same period last year, translating to 92 cents per share. In its unaudited financial statements for the 6 months ended June 30, the company reported a $2.1 million improvement in insurance service results, reaching $11.3 million, driven by its life, health, and general insurance subsidiaries. Net investment income also rose to $26.3 million, supported by higher interest income and mark-to-market gains. During the quarter, CHBL completed the acquisition of the Saxon Group, comprising Saxon Holdings and Saxon Administration in the Cayman Islands. The deal added $14.1 million in net assets and $14 million in goodwill, reinforcing CHBL's strategic growth plans. Meanwhile, the executive chairman says the acquisition and integration of Saxon aligns with CHBL's values and presents exciting opportunities for growth, while the company remains focused on strengthening its balance sheet and delivering long-term value. In other news, the Caribbean Development Bank CDB has approved US $420,000 in grants for 20 women-owned and led micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs, across 7 of its borrowing member countries. The funding is being delivered through the She Trades Caribbean Regional Hub Grow, and Go Grant Facility, a program designed to help women entrepreneurs expand operations, access new markets, and strengthen export readiness. Developed in collaboration with the International Trade Center ITC, She Trades Caribbean targets some of the biggest hurdles facing women-led businesses, particularly limited access to financing and technical support. Each awardee will receive not only financial assistance, but also a tailored development plan under ITC's SME Diagnostic Assessment methodology, addressing operational gaps and positioning firms for integration into regional and global value chains. CDB's Division Chief for the Private Sector Division, Lisa Harding, says the initiative goes beyond providing funds. The She Trades Caribbean Grow and Go Awards are more than grants. They are keys unlocking export opportunities and giving women-led businesses the tools, confidence, and platform to thrive on the world stage, Harding noted. Now to trading news from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. 16 securities traded on the TTSE Wednesday, of which 5 advanced, 7 declined, and 4 traded firm. Leading the winners were Ansa McCull, Prestige Holdings, Angostura Holdings, and JMMB Group, while leading the losers were Guardian Holdings, Trinidad and Tobago NGL, Unilever Caribbean, and First Citizens Group Financial Holdings. Other results include the All-TNT Index advancing by 2 points to close at 1,469.53. The Composite Index advancing by 1.24 to close at 1,018.41. And the Cross-Listed Index also advanced, but by 0.06 to close at 75.01. And still remaining at 96.40 is the SME Index. And we go for a quick break, but please stay with us. Nielsen Rose is up next with the International Business News segment.
Hi, I'm Nielsen Rose, host of Let's Talk Stocks, reminding you that health is indeed wealth and time is really money. Why not spend a little time with us? Weekday mornings, 9 to 9:30 a.m. for your daily dose of business, economic, and investment insights.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. In the international news today, the annual inflation rate in the UK jumped to 3.8% in July, the highest since January 2024, and was up from 3.6% in June, and well above market expectations of 3.7%. The main upward pressure came from transport, where prices climbed 3.2% compared to 1.7% in June, driven by a 30.2% surge in airfares, likely reflecting the timing of school summer holidays. Additional contributions came from higher motor fuel costs, sea fares, and roadside recovery services. Inflation also increased in restaurants and hotels, 3.4% versus 2.6%, mainly from overnight hotel stays, and in food and non-alcoholic beverages, 4.9% versus 4.5%. By contrast, housing and household services provided the main downward effect, with inflation easing to 6.2% from 6.7% amid softer owner-occupiers, housing costs and rent. On a monthly basis, CPI rose 0.1%, defying forecasts of a 0.1% decline, but slowing from June's 0.3% gain. Core inflation inched up to 3.8% from 3.7%. The average contract interest rate for 30-year fixed-rate mortgages with conforming loan balances $806,500 or less in the U.S. increased to 6.68% in the week ending August 15 from a 4-month low in the previous period. Meanwhile, total mortgage application volumes decreased by 1.4% from the previous week. Purchase applications were little changed over the week, but were at the strongest pace in 4 weeks and continued to run well ahead of last year's pace, said Joel Kahn, an MBA economist, in a release. Prospective home buyers remain more active compared to last year, despite economic headwinds, uncertainty, and affordability challenges. WTI crude futures rose above $62 per barrel on Wednesday, trimming losses of over 1% in the prior session as investors weighed the outlook for a potential Russia-Ukraine peace deal that could ease sanctions on Russia and boost supply. U.S. President Donald Trump recently said he was working to arrange a Putin-Zelensky meeting, possibly followed by a trilateral summit, and discussed hosting talks in Hungary. Russia is yet to confirm participation, creating uncertainty about the prospect for a swift resolution. Meanwhile, industry data showed a 2.4 million barrel inventory decline last week, exceeding expectations for a 1.2 million barrel drop and pointing to a stronger demand. Gasoline and distillate inventories also fell from last week. Nevertheless, oil remained close to an almost 3-month low, pressured by a potential peace deal, softer enforcement of secondary sanctions, and rising OPEC Plus output, leaving prices down more than 10% so far this month. The People's Bank of China, PBOC, maintained key lending rates at record lows for the 3rd consecutive month during the August fixing, in line with market expectations. The decision came despite recent economic data suggesting that the economy might be losing momentum. The 1-year loan prime rate, LPR, the benchmark for most corporate and household loans, was kept steady at 3%. While the 5-year LPR, which guides mortgage rates, remained unchanged at 3.5. Data released last week showed that industrial output grew at its slowest pace in 8 months in July, while retail sales posted their weakest growth since December 2024. Meanwhile, new one loans fell for the first time in 20 years, coming in well below analysts' expectations, although broader credit growth showed some improvement. In its latest quarterly monetary policy implementation report, the central bank stated it would continue to implement and fine-tune a moderately loose monetary policy. And those were your international business stories. After the break, join Neil for your recap.
Welcome back. Now to recap our top stories. Jamaica's GDP records a modest increase for the first 6 months of 2025. Regionally, Bermuda's economy expands by over 1% for the first quarter of 2025. And on the international scene, UK's inflation jumps to 3.8%, hitting an 18-month high. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of Nielsen Rose and the entire production team, I'm Neil Wood, wishing for you a splendid evening. And thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.
Hola, soy Susana Iones, soy la consejera del Caribe de Noruega en nuestra embajada en Cuba, también trabajando con Jamaica. Ahora estás mirando CBS, que es